bad home life, right? Because if you have the realization that what I'm doing is wrong, you don't have the scapegoat to say,
no, but it's not a scapegoat.
It's in the past. It's not saying I know what I'm doing is wrong. And I'm still
I don't think it's a scapegoat as much of a. I'm realizing that I'm psychological. No, not even a justification. I don't think it justifies what he did at all. I think the way I see it is that he realizes he's a fucked up person, and in this case, I'm on the nurture side of this because his home life was very fucked up, and his dad had 14 other kids or something stupid.
Okay.
Wait, 14 kids?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
No, let's just keep going.
Kevin Spacey tried to pull the same stunt after what happened to him.
Oh no, I'm not saying what he did is right either.
But my point is, if you look outside, if you've made your major mark on something influential, such as a musician or an actor, it's not like you are ignorant to what is right and what is wrong.
And he wasn't.
Okay, then I have nothing else to say other than he kind of got what was coming to him.
Right, and he welcomed it as well all the time.
Cole, could you
he did
a little bit.
He constantly was like, "Come at me, fight me, hand to hand." When he got jumped and stuff, he's like, "You should have just come up and we could have fought like men instead of being jumped and all this kind of stuff." Here's the thing is, I think only his fans are the ones that try to justify it. Even he doesn't try to justify what he did. Of like his vlogs and things that he like where he spoke about the stuff, and he's always been like, yeah, I did awful things. I'm not a very good person, and I'm trying to move forward with that stuff. And that's where he kind of was, I believe now. His career's getting started, and he's trying to move forward and all this. Granted, he was still denying that he ever committed those crimes against his ex, which that's a different thing.
Real quick. So let's just clarify real quick so that everybody's on the same page of the alleged crimes. Just because.
So I don't know all the details because I didn't want to read through the whole document, but the gist of it is he raped his ex, beat his ex, psychologically and emotionally manipulated her. And then the big thing was that he, what is the term? He kidnapped her, basically. Kept her in a locked room.
This, you really need to go into specifics, though, because I understand you're giving an overview.
Right.
I'm going to pull up some of the specifics because it really is kind of it's like sociopath level stuff.
Yes,
it
really
is.
like, are you talking about like with the fork and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yes.
What fork?
I'm going to get to that right now. Yeah. So basically,
and just you're going to want, if we are going to go into details, you need to put like a warning.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Warning.
Yeah, warning. It's pretty graphic
for everybody who's
up.
Listening currently.
I haven't said anything worse before.
Well, I mean, it's. I think there's a difference.
Real.
Okay.
Well, no, I just think there's a difference between like vulgar stuff versus like kind of twisted things, because if it's kind of graphic and like other than just like blah 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 words and stuff.
And so
yes,
while he pulls that up, I'm just gonna say, so he was arrested for a separate thing. It was like a breaking and entering thing. He was arrested in jail for a while, and then he was out on parole. And then this whole stuff like happened like 2 years ago, and it's been going to court, and there's been issues with that because supposedly he's been tampering with like evidence and harassing witnesses. Well, not him, his
posse,
but it's supposedly under his orders and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, model citizens.
And anyways,
sorry, go ahead. Just that.
People assume because there hasn't been anything yet. He hasn't been convicted.
Okay, so it's just all allegations.
Yes.
Okay.
And people assume that he was going to be having jail time once this is resolved, but we'll never know now.
Okay, so here's kind of this is like a brief explanation of what he did. The first incident of domestic violence occurred around 2 weeks later. This is from when they started dating. For context, he slapped her and broke her iPhone 6 because she had complimented a male friend on his new jewelry. Okay. So that right there kind of starts.
That sets the tone.
Yeah, that kind of sets the not necessarily sociopathic, but definitely narcissistic.
Right.
Maybe might not be the right word, but
definitely is known for his ego.
Yes, very much. Let's see. So
what year is this?
This
just
is
I want to say
2016.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she and him met in one of his shows in 2016.
Yes.
Just for timeline purposes, when did he start getting big?
When he released,
was 16. He released what's that song?
Look at Me.
Look at Me. He released it at the end of 2015, but it didn't get big until after the allegations of his crimes. That's what got him big.
And he was
and that's something that I
posting
really
since like 2014.
Okay, all right.
okay.
So he said it's not like he's been in the game. For context, for also as well, xxxtentacion, who we're talking about. I don't know if we specifically clarified it, but
20-year-old rapper.
20-year-old rapper. So he's definitely a young kid. It's not like he's in his 30s and 40s
and he
like
was
a thug.
Shot dead today, June 18th.
Right, June 18th.
Yep. So we've already started with the breaking her phone, slapping her over something that's very, very insignificant, really, when you get down to it. I understand jealousy, but that is, and I think everyone can agree that's on a whole nother level. The reported victim met him online, went to a movie theater with him once before she attended one of his shows in late May 2016. So this is right before the whole phone thing. On that particular evening, he came up from behind her in the crowd, grabbed her neck, and walked away silently. Later the same night, he hugged her and invited her to a party at his house where he was living in North Miami. At the house, he told her he liked her and suggested they move in together. Then 2 weeks later, she compliments a friend, gets slapped, her phone gets broken. He fixes the phone. Later that day, xxxtentacion left the room and returned with 2 grilling implements, a barbecue pitchfork and a barbecue cleaner, she said, and told her to pick between them because he was going to put one of them into her vagina.
Wow.
She chose the fork. He told her to undress. He was lightly dragging the tool against her inner thigh when she passed out, but he did not penetrate her with it. Following that incident, xxxtentacion began to act violently toward her often. Around July 2016, the couple moved to Orlando. When he asked during the deposition to pinpoint the days he threatened to kill you, or when she was asked, the reported victim responded, well, when we lived in Orlando, it was literally like every day. About a week and a half into their stint in Orlando, the woman and xxxtentacion were on their way to a show together. They listened to one of his songs in the car, and she sang along with his verse. Then she hummed along with a verse from a featured artist on the track. After that, he fell silent and left her in the car outside the venue. Inside, they got into a fight. When they arrived home after the show, he took her into the bathroom, and he was asking me why I was singing his friend's part of the song. If I like him, why do I like him? Like, do I ever look at his Twitter? She said. Take a quick breather. Then xxxtentacion headbutted her, punched her, stomped on her, put her in the bathtub where he continued hitting her and kicking her. He also wanted to cut out my tongue because I was singing the song, she said. She tried to run away down the street. He tackled her, causing her head to hit the pavement. She suffered a black eye, a lump on the back of her head, scratch marks, and bruises, including a large bruise on her ankle where he stomped her. Also, while living in Orlando, he hit her with white plastic clothes hangers. He broke a good 30 hangers on my legs, she said. Around this time, he tried cutting her hair, and he held her head under running water in the bathtub.
Wow.
In August, he was arrested in a separate case. As previously reported, he was charged with an armed home invasion, robbery, and aggravated battery with a firearm, stemming from an alleged incident in November 2015. He pleaded no contest to those charges in March 2017 and was ordered to serve 6 years of probation.
Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. What, no contest? No context? No contest. What does that mean? Is that just like
One moment.
It's not pleading guilty.
What was the phrasing of it?
Pleading no contest.
I think he means he's not going to deny them. I don't know law terms. Yeah, I don't think it's the same
that's
as
what it looks like.
Guilt.
Heads up, none of us are lawyers, but it looks like that means like they're not contesting the charges.
Right. They're just letting them go.
Asterisk, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Back to the article I was just at. Sorry for hitting the microphone.
It's not an admission of guilt, but it's accepting the charges,
sure.
I believe.
So, and at this point, the charges stem from an alleged incident in November 2015 where we just left off. This is where he went to jail. That's where he got big.
Right.
Okay.
When he went to jail after doing all these things to his girl, this is when...
Wait, so he was full on incarcerated?
All right, so here's what it means. It comes from the Latin nolo contendere, a plea by which a defendant in a criminal prosecution accepts conviction as though a guilty plea has been entered but does not admit guilt.
Yep.
Okay. So he's accepting the consequences.
So basically saying you can give me these charges, but I'm not admitting to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. He went to jail, and he did serve jail time.
Okay.
Yes, and he did get bailed out, but this is the time where he got
He served
big.
jail time for
was
B&E, or he served jail time for
the charges that we just went over.
Okay.
The breaking and entering.
Not for anything.
For his girlfriend. Okay.
Nothing ever came of that.
But that was do you know if the police were building a case on that or
they were working on it?
Okay, all right.
It's
kind of a key factor. Real quick, a key factor with the girlfriend thing that his whole side claims is a lie and her whole side claims is real is that she was supposedly pregnant.
Yeah,
by
supposedly.
Him, but
he denies the fact that she was pregnant and says there was paperwork to prove it.
Okay.
Now, at the same time, he talked a lot of big game, and I don't think you can really trust what he says.
Even at the time, I don't know if that...
because at the time, it did mention in another article I was reading that they were trying to have a kid.
Right.
Okay.
And at the time, I remember him saying, like on social media feeds and stuff like that, that he had like conspiracy, I don't know, whatever, but he was saying that, you know, she owed money to people and they're the ones that beat her up.
He tried to push it off onto other people beating her up.
And that she built this whole case against him to like break up with him and get money from him and all that.
Yeah, that was the way he was trying to portray this. Now there is a little bit more here. This is just what he was going to be charged for. Obviously, it's not happening now, but it says there he is charged with aggravated battery of a pregnant woman, domestic battery by strangulation, false imprisonment, and witness tampering. He has pleaded not guilty in that case, granted a $50,000 bond on those charges in December, but had been imprisoned for violating the terms of a prior house arrest or something.
Okay. Wow.
And so that's just specifically about what he has done.
That's his rap sheet.
The thing is, he's done
there's more. There's more.
Oh, okay.
Like things that here's the thing. Like he met Ski Mask, the Slump God, in prison.
Really?
Yeah. Before all of this, he was already in jail for something else.
He was in probation. Or it wasn't. It was juvie. Juvie. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. But yeah. There was one earlier whenever we were filming and I was reading while y'all were talking. Yeah. There was a lot about how he had never really had a home. He had been living at friends' houses. Yeah, friends' houses, sometimes with his grandparents. Sometimes he spent time in juvie. Like, you know, a lot, very, very troubled teenage years.
And you can find videos.
Violent, messed up kid.
Violence is the key, because you can find videos of him, like, way before he was anyone, of, like, beating people up. Like, there's a video. My first exposure to him was I heard his song and I just looked him up on YouTube.
And you found like a fight video?
Like, yeah, it was a fight. There was a fight video of him just beating a person to a pulp, and that's what he used for like an EP cover, the person's broken face. And then a video of him busting into what I assume is someone's apartment, and then like kicking him and beating the person in the bathroom and like you know, saying stuff.
So this was just because he's an angry person, or just like he had beef with these people?
Because he's just a fighter is really what it seemed like.
And everyone
based on the way he portrayed himself, it was anyone. He was a very, very machismo. Okay. If anyone looks like they can challenge me or looks like they're going to try to challenge me, I'm going to fuck them up.
And like mindset. He got jumped not too long ago outside a hotel that he accused Migos of doing it, but I don't think it ended up being them. And like immediately, like an hour afterwards, he was on Instagram being like, "Wow, I can't believe they jumped me. You know, that's pussy stuff.
Right?
You should just fight me. Let's fight."
And you know, here's just a little bit more in the same article. This is recapping his climb to fame. While Onfray was incarcerated, his 2015 song "Look at Me" became a viral hit, peaking at number 61 on Billboard's Top 100 chart or Hot 100 chart. In a new interview with Miami's 103.5 The Beat, X went after Drake, addressing a perception that More Life's KMT, one of Drake's songs, borrows the "Look at Me" flow. He is not a man, Onfray said of Drake, as XXL notes. "I think he's a bitch, and that's a bitch move." So he was out to fight anybody.
Okay.
And he went after...
wasn't that the opposite of his music, though? I thought his music was, like, super... What wasn't, like, an album...
That one song that I showed you, Jocelyn Flores, that's a very sad, slow
song.
Okay.
But something about his albums is that he covers a lot of... He kind of...
Like, he samples from, or...
He includes a lot of different genres in his... And this is, once again, more stuff that I've read about, mainly. But listening to his albums, apparently you'll hear rap, trap, punk rock, you know, like you'll hear a lot of different inspiration from it. And like he has some sad, slow stuff. He has like "Look at Me" is a really like rage or angry kind of song.
Right.
And it's that song he was showing us in the car is like, he's kind of like, he seems mainly like an angry sad boy rapper, really.
Yeah.
Right.
But with his slow and emotional
his
track.
newest stuff was like folk rap. Almost, you know, just lots of sad guitar samples looped over and over and all this kind of stuff. But the key thing in almost all of his songs are the violence, the depression and like suicidal tendencies, and then like something in his newest album, I want to say like the song "Sad," I believe it's called. Is there's a lot of like underlying manipulation stuff, like threatening his own suicide if people don't stay with him, type of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and he's an interesting character because all of his songs and like his persona is all this kind of stuff, but he himself tries to portray himself as a bringer of peace. Like he tries. I don't want to say messiah, but he almost tries to present himself as like a messiah. Not in a religious context, but he's like, I'm here for the kids. I'm here to create a new world for people. I'm here to create peace and promote peace and positivity. Everyone can do anything they want to do and prosper and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, my music, I have all this stuff in my music, and I do all this stuff, and it's so they don't have to. It's it's to keep it off of them. I take all the hate, I take all the the damage.
So he thinks of himself as a martyr.
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, there's this video from I don't know how long ago, but recently, his Instagram, where he says, if I die a young death, if I die tragically, before I reach where I want to be, I want it to be a sacrifice for the kids. Once again, here's the thing: is he was a kid making this music. He was 16 when he started,
right?
But he keeps talking about the kids and how he wants to be this figure for them.
Well, like, I mean, as a role model, or just okay.
Well, no, not as a role model, because he's like, I'm not. Don't do my actions.
He's basically a punching bag.
That's what he's trying to portray himself as. Right. Is this punching bag for all the bad shit to happen to him, so that everyone else can live a good life.
So he's just like the SoundCloud rapper of Eminem.
He literally just thinks he's a martyr. That's what it really comes down to for that aspect of it. I think.
I mean,
I don't see the relation there.
Well, no, with Eminem and stuff like that, isn't that the whole aspect of like, hey, I've been through all this shit. I've been up and down. But he's not like,
now I'm telling you my story, so you don't do it too.
Right.
It's a little different.
Isn't there a quote from Eminem? He's like, I did all the hard drugs, so you don't have to, or something like that.
Yeah, but that's a joke.
Oh, well, I mean...
It's a joke line. Like, this guy, outside of his music, is saying this stuff.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And, like, he'd
post.
And he had weird stuff, like, he had bad vibes tattooed on, like, his eyelid or underneath his eye and stuff, and he's like, bad vibes is the opposite. It's the opposite. Like, he said stuff that I didn't quite get, where he's like, I have all the bad vibes, but I promote nothing but good. I take in the bad and put out the good, and all this kind of stuff. He was an interesting person, to say the least, and he was very charismatic.
But the thing is, though, he's not. I wouldn't consider him necessarily unique, though. I think this kind of style and this idea of coming from the internet, of like this SoundCloud and kind of
his music maybe wasn't, but the way he was.
Oh, really? There's no other.
He's like the ISIS of rap. He just takes it too far. He's promoting the same. It's kind of like you're saying. He's promoting the same ideas, but he's going about it obviously my comparison's not perfect, but he's the radicalist.
Sure.
Of his genre. He takes it too far. He took it too far. Now he's dead. He had all these charges. He did a lot of fucked up things. He just took everything too far.
It's interesting to me because both Biggie and Tupac, welcome death in their songs, and then they both die. Lil Peep constantly was saying, I'm going to die. I'm waiting to die. I will die. And like his last Instagram post was, when I die, you'll love me. And then he dies. Yep. And now, like weeks or days or however long it's been, X says, if I die, yada yada, and then he dies.
And people just need to stop saying this shit.
Yeah, because it was so, when he was in jail, he made this post and he did this video or something where he was talking about how being in jail made him realize things and how negative his music was. And that when he got out, he was going to change everything about himself. And how
but he didn't, though?
Well, he thinks he was.
Oh, okay.
He thinks he was starting a new movement. And he was very much into, like, the Secret type stuff. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with The Secret?
I don't know what the
Where your thoughts, influence the world and then come back to you. If you put out good thoughts, good things happen.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And all this kind of stuff. But, yeah, it was such a clash with what he was actually saying in his stuff.
I just remembered one more thing on his rap sheet from when he was incarcerated. His cellmate was gay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. His cellmate was gay, and he's an extremely homophobic person, or he was an extremely homophobic person. And he kept telling the guard, like, I'm going to kill this gay motherfucker. This dude in my cell, like, if he does any kind of gay shit, I'm going to kill him.
Wow.
Is what he would tell the guard. So one day when he was changing, he caught the guy staring at him. And he beat the dude to a pulp until one of the guards heard the guy screaming and came and pulled him off.
Wow.
Yeah, just over a look,
right?
Like, and it's the same thing with the girl complimenting her friend's jewelry. He's
so impulsive.
Then why? Okay, so hold on. Why is he popular then? Why is it that he's
because
able to
his
climb the ranks and make all this money and release albums?
I can give you,
and do it.
His music was super hype in the beginning.
Yep.
Okay.
And
hype as in just like
it was just banger.
Okay.
It was at the peak of that.
It's like the ultimate party music, or
right?
It was.
His cult of personality.
Mm-hmm.
And just everything about that. So the stuff with Drake got him attention, him being in jail, and his fan base like worships him. And so when he was in jail, they were the ones that got him popular, spreading his music.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when he went to jail, he would post stuff being like, "It's up to you to make this happen." And he would do stuff like he would always post song snippets and be like, "I won't release anything more until you spread this and make sure certain people see it," and all this kind of stuff. He was very commanding of his audience.
Okay.
And all this kind of stuff. And
well,
then
I mean, that's just sounds
his
like
newest stuff, the album, I don't know, whatever his first album. 17.
Yeah,
Okay.
17.
Where he completely changed the sound of his music. And I think that was him trying to change directions because he went into this very singy, folky, sad boy music versus the angry, loud music.
right.
And it got co-signed by like Kendrick and various people.
Mm-hmm.
They co-signed on it, and that got him more attention. He was just blowing up.
And I think a big part of it is there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Exactly.
Really. And it was kind of like we were talking about in the car earlier. Why isn't this on the news? Well, because it's all over the internet.
Right.
And it is one of those things, like back when that happened, that was the front page of Reddit that day.
Yeah.
And today, front page of Reddit, him dying.
Yep.
Anytime something big like this happens to one of these up-and-coming SoundCloud rappers or Tumblr rappers, wherever they come from, if they're getting big, it's like a wildfire. Yes. They do something, whether it's good or bad, and especially if it's bad, it's going to spread fast as fuck.
So let me ask you guys then, what do you think spreads faster? Traditional media and news and TV and newspapers, or internet?
Internet.
Okay.
And I think,
it's
specifically bad publicity always goes faster than good publicity.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And it's different though, because before the internet and stuff, it was on TV, newspapers, radio, so people who weren't in that scene would be exposed to it. And it creates more topics. Nowadays, a lot of stuff is insulated. So there's people who have on the internet who have never heard of this dude. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then it's click.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, you're
it's
good.
like if I go on Reddit and I'm subscribed to hip hop heads,
right?
Then of course I'm gonna know he died. That's gonna be the first thing I see when I log on.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go onto Reddit and I hate rap music and I have it all filtered out, I'm never gonna know.
Yeah.
Right.
So while the internet is the fastest way for information to get back and forth, there's still a large chunk of people who there's still I'm sure a hell of a lot of people still have no clue right now.
Real quick, I want to kind of take a leap because I think we talked the crap out of this. Unless you have final thoughts,
I thought,
in terms of just the conversation of spreading media. But go ahead.
Okay. No, I was gonna go back to him and say opinions on the fact that he was shot dead.
Oh, I mean, it's sad. I don't think any human should die by being shot, unless you're like horrible. But
that's the thing.
But he was horrible.
He was horrible. And there's people who are justifying it by saying, why does he get to rest in peace when, his ex doesn't? She has to live with all these horrors. Good riddance. He deserves it.
No, you see, no, I disagree with that.
Right, I kind of
She's alive and he's not, and I think that's a lot better than the other way around.
No, I agree. But people are saying, rest in peace, and people are saying, no, don't rest in peace. He should rot. He deserves to be dead, and all this kind of stuff.
You see, and it's just hard because you have a conversation where you say, personally, I don't think anyone deserves to die. But then you're like, what about Hitler? And then I'd say, well, I mean, Hitler was a really bad guy. And, whoever else, and child molesters, and, whoever other people and stuff like that. So it's just, I just think that in that instinct nature, for me personally, the instinct nature of saying, I'm glad this person is dead will never happen. I think there could be positive benefits from someone's passing, and there could be a shift in tone, and people could be happy about it. But I don't know. Personally, it's just to solve things. I think my final statement on this. If he was rotting in prison for the rest of his life, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I would have. I think that would have been
honestly,
a better.
That would have been my preferred scenario.
Yeah.
Didn't we just get through a story about him beating the shit out of a gay dude in prison?
Solitary confinement's a thing, and he's definitely a person who would get it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
He's definitely one of those kinds of people that would be on a 23-hour cycle where they're 23 hours locked in a room, 1 hour outside. With what he's done and if they put him in a cell with someone else, he would beat the shit out of that person. And it's not a matter of what if, because he'd find a reason.
Sure.
Because they would do one thing that even the slightest annoyance, I'm sure, would set him off. So once it happened once, they'd throw him in solitary anyway.
True.
And it's like I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's all good.
This is just I really like this topic.
You're good.
You're good. This is just I really like this topic. 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 This is I agree with what you're saying about how, like, personally, I don't like to say it's a good thing that someone died, but at the same time, I do think it's a lot better for the people that were around him in his life that he's gone.
Right.
Well, because he's already it's a unique situation because, well, I don't know how unique he is in the grand scheme of things, but it's like he's already made music. He's already made a statement. Everyone knew who he was. I'm sure even more people now will know who he is if they're passing by, reading about it.
He's going to get even more famous in the next week.
Exactly.
Yeah, the next week, everything's going to blow up and then it'll settle.
Oh, sure. But and so I think it's different now, whereas what if he just started out and he was this, 16-year-old kid just trying to make mumble music? Sure, he was still super aggressive. He had a girlfriend, did all this crap, and then he dies then before doing an album. And
I mean, that happens all the time.
Like, okay, when we don't hear about it, though.
Right. Because they're not famous, yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, hold on real quick. Was he in the traditional form of the word famous?
Yes.
At the point of his death, yes.
Really?
Yes.
I've never heard of him.
What do you classify fame, though?
Fame is eyes on you. He had everyone in that industry had eyes on him.
I think being famous first and foremost comes down to notoriety. To like how like notorious you are.
And and that brings eyes on you.
Notorious for being a piece of shit and also making great music, therefore that kind
debatable
of
on the great
music.
Very
for
making music that people like doesn't mean it's great.
Right. So I want to say, first off, just my opinion on the being shot dead thing. Mm-hmm. Whether he deserves to live or not, I'm not going to comment on that. I don't believe I have the ability to judge.
And he had a net worth of $2 million at his time of death. So that's pretty goddamn decent, I think.
Yeah.
Well, but okay. Well, go ahead, Cole, and then I'll.
But as for two random guys who were clearly enemies, because he had a lot of enemies, shooting him down, I don't think they should have been the ones to do that. If he was going to die, it shouldn't have been them doing it out of spite and hate. You get what I'm saying? So he was gunned down versus
him getting himself killed by some stupid accident.
Yeah.
So, which do you think,
or by law, or
by law?
And I think that would change the light of the situation too.
Yes,
I really think it would.
To go off that, just my last thing on this is, I'm not sure it's a good thing that he died, solely because he will now blow up even more, just like Lil Peep. But Lil Peep, I think, was a good person.
Yeah, Lil Peep wasn't a scumbag.
His death actually brought light to a good situation, which is drugs are bad and there's an epidemic going on and we got to fix it.
Yeah, his death really brought the fentanyl situation out into the light.
Versus this, he's going to get bigger. His albums, his 2 albums that he put out are going to go down as classics. He's going to be cemented in history, and what my fear is, his crimes, the things that he did,
they're going to be forgotten.
They're going to be erased.
Yeah, he's going to be cemented in rap history as this big icon of rap music for this small time period that he was big.
Right.
And 10 years from now, people are going to be like, do you remember that dude xxxtentacion? Oh, yeah, the one that made Jocelyn Flores?
Right.
Not, oh, yeah, the dude that almost stuck a barbecue fork in his girlfriend's vagina. Like, no one's going to think of it
all people will say is, oh, he was controversial.
Yeah.
True. That's all they're going to say.
True.
They're not going to remember him for the things he did. Versus if he went to jail.
That'll start tomorrow.
Right.
That's not going to take 10 years. There are going to people. There are going to be people tomorrow who wake up, throw on his album, and don't
reminisce.
have any negative thoughts about it.
Yeah,
they're going to be like, man, I remember when this dude was alive. Man, why did this guy die?
Right.
And personally, I think that's more of a problem than what he did itself. I think.
Well, but
I think the problem lies.
Wouldn't that just be human nature, though? It's because don't even think about just like a single person's death. Look at any event in history, and there's going to be a ton of facts that are forgotten.
Well, I mean, people already, when he was alive, people were already trying to justify or erase what he did.
Oh, well,
but it's the fact that he was gunned down and he got his wish of being a sacrifice in his own words.
Yeah, you kill a martyr and you're eternalizing him.
Right, versus if he went to jail for life, people would remember that as what it was.
Honestly, if
put to
this
death
little instance of what happened today started something and he actually became a martyr, then that'd be great. But I don't think it will. If things actually changed and something got better because of this,
go ahead.
Then that would be great. But I'm very doubtful it'll happen because Lil Peep died and fentanyl got brought out in the spotlight and now no one's talking about it.
Okay, real quick, we're gonna take a break real quick and then we'll come right back. And we're back. Okay, so we were just talking about the
Tentacion.
Yeah, sure. Well, of course, we've been talking about him for 7 million hours. Okay, so I just final closing thoughts, and then I want to kind of jump to a new point. If anyone has for xxxtentacion.
I mean, I think there is a lot to be said. I mean, and not for the specific situation, but for all the depression, I guess might be the word, in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, you can go back to the 90s and look at Kurt Cobain, and he's another classic example of not being a fucked up person.
Go back to the 60s and 70s, you have Jim Morrison.
Yeah, you can go back and go back and go back and go back, and there's always these problems in the music industry, and I think that people need to start looking for the root of it and trying to figure it out, because
I think it's just because art is a natural form of self-expression, and so
would you say, because I'm curious now, this is going to get into an even bigger thing.
This is fine.
Would you say, because I don't know the answer to this, would you say it's more romanticized now though?
Oh
yes.
What, suicide or getting killed?
Just the idea of like depression, art.
Oh my gosh,
100%, 100%. Like, especially with like clout culture.
Right.
Like Lil Xan, like Lil Peep, like this guy, like fucking all of them.
I just asked,
Trippie Redd. It's all they're all in that same genre, and they're all constantly talking about, I do drugs because I'm sad. I want to kill myself because I'm sad. I'm angry at you because I'm sad. This happens because I'm sad. And it all comes back to that same general idea of depression, and I think it's way romanticized.
Yeah, it's
nowadays.
definitely a shift, because talking about drugs, talking about doing all this stuff was there before, but it was always almost like a survival conversation versus now it's an embracing of it.
Yeah, it used to be like with Eminem, where you have like his time in D12 and you have Purple Pills, which is literally a song about glorifying drug use.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Yes.
And then you get Eminem 10, 15 years later with Recovery. So it used to be about, let's do drugs, let's party, let's have fun. Oh shit, we did too many drugs. Oh shit, now we're going to recover. And now it's, let's do drugs, let's party, let's have fun because we're sad, and then we die.
Yeah.
And it's taken this step. And it's like, not only is depression romanticized, but this whole process has been pushed to another level. Instead of just being, I'm doing drugs, now I'm recovering, now I'm good, now I'll make some more music, it's, I'm doing drugs, I can't recover because I'm surrounded by the same group of people doing the same thing. And they're all just like, they're trapped. It almost seems like they're trapped in it, and they just end up dying from it.
I don't think it's necessarily they're trapped. I think it's just, and to pull it kind of in a bigger scale, I think it's just we don't take responsibility anymore. I think it's because you have and like as Cole, you were saying, he was commanding his followers and his people who listen to him and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It becomes this overinflated, like, oh, I don't have to take responsibility. I'll just keep doing drugs because if I'm going to live a fast and short, glorious life, well, then screw it. That's what I am. And so I think because we're so accessible to making music and doing things, and really just like now is the time. Literally, if you want to do something, go for it. You want to do something in media, you want to do something with music, you want like in September of last year I started this podcast because I wanted to, and years and years ago it was only like the super professional people had podcasts, and NPR was a podcast and whatever, and so but now anyone can do it. And so I think because we've built this situation where anyone can just do anything, if xxxtentacion wants to do rap and be self-diluted in this sense of I'm the Messiah, even though whatever your take is.
Don't quote me. I don't think he ever said I'm the Messiah.
But I mean, his attitude, kind of that Messiah attitude,
his inflated ego.
Yeah, and no one's going to tell him otherwise because. Go ahead. No, you're good.
Here was just something on the responsibility aspect of it that I definitely do agree with you on this. I just want to bring in an example for it. This is Lil Peep, who died when he was 21. Mm-hmm. And he died because and see this. Here's the thing that just amazes me about it is these people. This person who's a year younger than we are when he died, because
he had just turned 21.
Right? He had just turned 21. And at the time of his death, his blood tested positive for marijuana, cocaine, and tramadol. His urine tested positive for those drugs, as well as opiates, hydrocodone, oxycodone, oxymorphone, and there wasn't even alcohol in his system. Mm-hmm. And he died because he had taken Xanax that was laced with fentanyl.
Which he didn't know that, by the way.
Well, yeah, no, of course he didn't know that, because anything laced with fentanyl will kill you. Basically, unless it's because isn't fentanyl used? What is it even used for?
I don't know. It's an intense drug. Yeah, Blake, do you know?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
Hardcore pills and
with the
drugs.
responsibility.
I just figured
thing
years
is,
ago you were in
fentanyl
it.
is a powerful synthetic opioid.
Yeah.
Powerful synthetic opioid analgesic that is similar to morphine but is 50 to 100 times more potent.
Well, isn't that the same drug? What's the same drug that Prince and Tom Petty overdosed on? I think they were. It was
fentanyl.
Yeah, it was the same.
It was variations of that.
Same painkiller. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and then again, then it's like, okay, who's to blame? Is it the personal responsibility or is it the drug
For
companies
Tom Petty,
making?
It says cardiac arrest.
That's an even
caused by.
Okay.
That's an even bigger conversation.
So is the other one?
Prince.
Okay, I'm just curious now.
But going with the responsibility thing is, I don't think it's not even people themselves aren't taking responsibility. Is we don't hold each other responsible because like with Lil Peep, he was posting videos.
Yeah, Prince died from fentanyl too.
Yeah, right before he died, of just putting pills in his mouth, the Xanax that he overdosed on, just popping, and all and the description of that post and all this kind of stuff was, I don't want to die young, but I probably will die young. I wish I didn't need these drugs. But maybe someday I'll be off them. I hope I will. Probably won't. All this kind of stuff, and all the comments were just, "Yay, love you, Peep. Can't wait for that new music." All this kind of stuff, and obviously there's fangirls like, "Oh, wishing you well," but like no one around him. No one in his fan base, all this. Well, that's probably not true, but
sure,
we're reaching out to like stop and help him.
People encourage it,
right?
It's ridiculous.
But then on the flip side, I'm gonna go on the opposite way because once you're in that, and with mental illness and all this kind of stuff, people reach out all the time, and sometimes you can't help them. You know what I mean? And so it's this tug of war where there's not enough people trying to help, and the people who are trying to help can't. You know what I mean? Because the people who need the help either won't accept it or can't accept it or all this kind of stuff. And it's a constant...
too far.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a constant tug. And I don't know what the solution is, but it's interesting to think about whose responsibility is it? Is it the people's responsibility to reach out and help them? Is it their responsibility to get the help?
Number one is personal responsibility. I think that trumps everything. If you don't have, and something I've been noticing kind of recently, and nothing against you guys, I feel like a lot of people in my life, they've almost kind of just looking into my bubble, and they're not actually stepping into the bubble. Whereas I think really good friends and true like you guys will ask the questions and take that extra step to say how you doing and all that kind of stuff. Where I have a couple of friends where it's like they'll ask me the same thing over and over again. It's like, oh, I've already told you this is what's going on in my life, and yet you still ask me a week later or something like that. So I definitely think for your life to be happy and for you to move on track and for you not to die essentially is personal responsibility.
Right. But then that goes into the mental illness thing where some people are controlled by their mental illness, and even if they're aware of it, they aren't able to take those steps.
Then it's the responsibility of the close people around you, because if you have a mental illness, it's
but even
impossible to
you see even then
somebody.
I think it's okay with mental illness. You can acknowledge it. I think 100% of the people who have mental illness can recognize if they have it. If they try and diagnose it, if they try and talk to somebody, if they visit a doctor, whatever it is, I think that 100%, if you have mental illness, you can recognize it.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I think there are a lot of people with undiagnosed mental illnesses.
Yes,
but like all the mass shooters that have been going on with mental illnesses.
I don't think a lot of them realize that.
I'm not talking about mass shooters right now. What I'm talking about is when you are aware of it. So let's
can we zone in on a specific illness, or are we going broad?
Just broad mental illness. So I think when you to a point where you say, okay, I now have this mental illness, or I think I have this mental illness, or I have depression, or I have whatever it is. Yes, the battle to overcome it is very challenging, and it can be years, it could be months, it could be days, whatever it is. I think there is a challenge for you to fight it.
For most people, it's a lifetime,
or a lifetime.
You don't ever overcome it. You just keep
learn
one
to deal
step
with
ahead of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think and I'm trying to not be super assholey about it.
Yeah.
But it's just I feel like everyone has the personal responsibility to do something. So because if you say I have super severe mental illness of this certain variety that's super crazy, and you're not doing anything about it, but there are plenty of ways there's online help, there's in personal help, there's family therapists.
And I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I also think some people, even if they're aware of it, are kind of trapped in a cage.
But
where they
how
don't,
are you trapped though?
I don't have that mental illness, so I don't know. But people like with severe depression.
I can put in a personal thing.
Well, Blake hasn't talked.
Well. Yeah, so Blake, please go first.
Sure. Coming from a family with multiple drug addicts, it's almost the same thing. Mm-hmm. So you are put in a situation where the person that is on whatever they're on, whether it be coke, Xanax, pills, heroin, or whatever drug that went on, that's who they are in their heads, mm-hmm. and it's impossible to convince somebody of otherwise. So for example, taking somebody in when they're sober mm-hmm. is not the way to go. That's what I learned when I took somebody else in mm-hmm. to rehabilitation. You don't take them in when they're sober. You take them in when they're fucked up, because that's who they are, mm-hmm. and there it's an easier time. So for another example, the person that I took in was come stone cold sober and was freaking out, and this person was like, I'm not fucking going in. You're never going to make me go in. Mm-hmm. And so we said, okay, well, let's go back and get you what you need. Mm-hmm. And this person had 10 or 12 beers, popped a couple of Xannies, and then this person was more than willing to go into rehabilitation after mm-hmm. that. It's almost the same concept. So you need to have having a person that doesn't want to go in or doesn't know that they have a problem is impossible. Oh, no, especially for that person.
I agree.
Can I add to this, and you can maybe say yes or no to that, because I don't know with addicts and stuff, but also when you're sober, aren't you more likely to think, oh, I'm already cured? Yep. I'm already over the hump. I'm already
because your mind, and I was reading this one book about it. An addict's mind when they're sober is only focused on one thing and one thing only.
Getting the next
and that's
hit.
Getting the next one.
Okay. Now, real quick, I think, to what you said, I think there are some people who work differently in that regard. Just as someone who has a family with a lot of drug, alcohol, or I've been around a lot of that kind of thing throughout my life. It was a big thing in my family. Still is. It's bad. But for my dad, terrible, alcoholic, cigarettes, certain drugs, whatever. But whenever he was sober, he would realize that it was an issue, and he would be able to stone cold fix it. Now, I think that does ring differently when it comes to narcotics, when it comes to things like, if we're talking like heroin or meth, like those things that are extremely addictive, because alcohol addiction is real, but I don't think, and no offense to anybody who's ever dealt with it, I don't think it's as severe as narcotics, heroin, opioids.
It's a more accessible addiction, though.
It is a more accessible addiction.
I think we're veering off, because with mental illness, I think it's outside of the narcotics and outside of the external influences. It's an internal struggle,
and so that's I just wanted to add with the sober thing, placing that terminology with mental illness. People will take medication, and then it makes them feel better, because I've had friends who go through this, and then they go, I feel better. They get off the medication, and then it just cycles.
Then they crash.
Over and over and over again. And so that goes to a bigger conversation of prescription industry and all that kind of stuff.
I don't necessarily want to get into that right now, but
that's what,
well, no, but okay. So, but can we all definitively agree that if Joe Bob, all right, so Joe Bob has, let's say, severe depression, some kind of schizophrenia, something like that, and an additional, we'll just throw in a third one. Joe Bob has all of the resources available to him to try and combat it, all right, to do as much as he can to live with it and to overcome it, and however it is. But if Joe Bob says, no, that's too much, then if Joe Bob ends up dying somehow or killing himself or doing something, can we agree that that's potentially his fault? For not utilizing the resources, because like I've been saying,
I don't think it's anyone's singular fault.
I don't think you can place the blame on one individual person like that, even if they are the one who did that. And the reason I say that is because, and I've even personally suffered to the level of depression where it's like, I know I need to get help. I know I need to do this. I know I need to do that. But
you just don't.
Can't. No, it's not like a, and it's not
whether
like
you're scared, whether
exactly,
you
and
don't think it'll work.
And I don't think it's about responsibility. It was at that time, it was ingrained in my head. I need to get help. I need to see a therapist. I need to do this. Like there's something that I need to change, or I need to do, or I need to see someone to fix this problem, but I can't.
Right. I have that issue with anxiety.
And I can't really explain why I couldn't do it at that time.
Right.
I just couldn't.
But do you think
I didn't have the ability to get up and go fix myself that day or that week or that month.
But do you think if someone pushed you to it, would you resent them for that, or
it's the state of you're in at the time.
For me personally, as a stubborn person, I don't think I would resent them for that. I think at first I would push them away, and I think ultimately it would be a good thing that they came to me, because it would be a realization to myself saying, "Wow, I am in a I know I'm in a bad state, but it's much worse than I thought."
So with your thing of if they die, is it their fault and all this kind of stuff? I don't think it's a matter of necessarily it's their responsibility 100% or their friends or family's responsibility 100%. It's more of it's the people around you. I think there is a responsibility to look out for you, and your responsibility is more to want that help. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, it's not your responsibility to go and do it. I mean, it should be, but you know what I mean. It's your responsibility to to accept it.
Yes, I agree with you.
I get it. There have been days where I've just sat on my couch and did nothing, and I felt trapped. Like I've legitimately had a feeling of I just can't get up. I don't want to do this thing. Yeah. Whatever it is. Blah blah blah. So I get that understanding, but I think that's just so it's not your constant state of mind. I think there gets to. I don't think so.
But it can be.
It can
is
be.
The thing.
I'm just.
But I think if you actively
do you have mental illness though?
I don't. So I don't think I have mental illness.
I have anxiety.
Sure.
I have pretty bad anxiety.
And I'm also diagnosed depression as well.
For years, I also denied this. Like I was like, nah.
No, I understand.
And for every day, it's like, nah, I'm going to go and do X, Y, whatever. And
right.
Yeah, I'm going to go and do these things, and then they don't happen, and then I think, oh, well, that's just my fault. That's my fault, because it is my fault. But then the next day, and then literally years upon years build up of me not going and doing these things. And that's where I'm at right now, finally getting the help I need with medication and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And it was up to me to finally accept that I have these things, and for my family and stuff to say, yeah, we need to take this step, because when it was just up to me, I always then said no, and I wouldn't do it.
Right.
Exactly. And then I questioned myself going, wait, why am I not doing it? That's stupid. It's just my fault. And then I beat myself up, and then that makes it worse.
It's a circle.
Yep. And then nothing ever happens. So it's a combination of things.
I don't know.
Because you do get trapped. I get what you're saying.
And I 100% understand where you're coming from. And we've had conversations like this before, and I completely agree. I just think there's just a part of me that says, because honestly, what I've seen people do and what I've seen humanity achieve, I really don't think that the brain and the mind and the perseverance and the spirit can be trapped.
That's a small percent of people.
I don't think so.
I was about to say that too. The people
everybody
who push
has that
humanity,
ability.
The people who push humanity
I think
forward
everybody
are 1 in
has
1,000 people.
No, they do have that ability to do
the crazy stuff like that. But I think everyone has that ability.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that if you try hard enough and you go for it, no. I'm not saying you're going to beat whatever you're trying to beat, but I think you can start the path. Everybody can start the path.
And that goes back to what I was saying. It's your responsibility to accept the path.
Yeah,
accept that.
Exactly.
But not everyone
makes
it onto the path.
One, Cole. I really agree. I think I'm not saying like, and I don't think either of us are trying to say like, oh, if I'm having a really bad day, I'm not going to expect you to come over and be like, hey man, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if I'm at that point and I'm that down, it's like you need to understand, if someone comes up to me and reaches out, you have to make yourself realize I need that help.
But again, and yes, I agree with that point. But again, it's the one instant in time where, because again, what is the saying? Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Yeah. That's just a very common
Robin
expression.
Williams said?
I think so, yeah. Probably. So as ironic as it is,
great.
So I understand that the demons can fixate and can push you down, and I'm fully aware of that. But I just don't think that's 24/7 the rest of your life.
And there are certain people it is. Not for me. Anxiety is depression, by the way.
If you're living 22, 23, 24 years of your life, and this was constantly since day one that you've been feeling like that, then I think you have the ability to call someone and talk to someone and then put that responsibility onto them.
Yeah, but I think some people don't want to.
Right.
That goes back. They see that as better than, what was that one quote, or there was one folk song that I love listening to, and he basically says, "Because death's probably better than just trying to get by."
Mm-hmm. Some people would rather rot than have to face that struggle. Like, not even kill themselves.
No, I'd rather. And I don't know. And I don't know if it's necessarily that they want to rot and feel terrible and feel awful, but that's all whatever is in their head, that's what it gives them. And it's kind of and I think this is kind of specifying depression, but I think like for depression, there were definitely times where I got depressed because I was depressed.
Yeah.
And it like kind of layers, and you're like, I'm depressed, and it's like, I'm really sad because X thing happened, and then it's like, man, now the rest of my day is ruined, and then like, oh hey, now the rest of my day is ruined, and it shouldn't be ruined, and now I'm mad at myself because I ruined my day over something minuscule.
How do you stop the self-perpetuation? How do you stop
That's kind of the question everyone's been facing.
I don't know.
And like, I think the answer, and this is very broad, and it doesn't mean anything other than wanting that help and wanting to whatever. But that's whatever, how you get there is different for everyone. I don't know. I don't have depression. I have anxiety, and so I'm not down in the dumps, and well, that's making it sound light. But I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think we're kind of just repeating ourselves now.
For sure. For sure, we have been. We've been in a giant circle for 50
Blake,
minutes.
Like depression.
On what?
On this topic we're on right now. What do you think about it? Like, do you think it's on the person? Do you think it's on the people around them? You've probably already said it, but you haven't talked a lot.
I think it's a person's responsibility to understand what they have, understand what the cards that the dealer dealt them. But if my girlfriend or my brother or my sister or my best friend was on the verge of collapse, I have a responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen.
And this is one thing I wanted to say off of what you were talking about earlier, but I totally just forgot it.
Oh, that's all good. Okay, well, I think we thoroughly talked it to death, just kind of the general concept. So I think we might end this with Blake's top and bottom, because I think we.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Not to totally halt and cold shower.
I changed it up.
Okay, so you did change it up.
So I did.
Rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain.
Oh,
that's
true,
definitely.
Yeah. Everyone, rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain.
Sure. It's true.
F.
So what was I doing? I think it came down to we were all talking about Trump yesterday. And how his North Korea stuff, and I'm sure that he would say that he's the greatest president of all time for saying that he got Kim Jong-un to the table. Well, this is my controversial top 5, bottom 5 U.S. presidents. Now, this list, I'm a huge history buff, so I love talking about presidents. I remember in the 3rd grade, my 3rd grade teacher, in order to keep me occupied, made me look at the wall of presidents listed, and I had to memorize them all in order.
Nice.
And still, I can still do it to this day. But
do it
right now.
Yeah.
No, don't put him on the spot
and then
like
put
that,
music
man.
to it.
Yeah, put
Wacko's Nations of the World.
Yeah.
Or Countries of the World.
Okay, let's see.
Waka Flocka.
Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk, Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland, McKinney, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
Nice.
Thank you.
And so I started thinking,
that was very impressive.
Thank you.
But you missed
Who did I miss?
Robo Nixon.
Oh, yes. That brief stint before he was killed by his
Robo wife.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna start with the top 5 U.S. presidents in this person's opinion.
Okay.
Number 5, we're gonna go with Calvin Coolidge. He's kind of an unknown president. Only had 1 term, and it was during the 1920s.
Definitely.
But why I think he's a great president, is because he didn't do anything.
Okay.
He really didn't.
The Ron Swanson approach. I like it.
The Ron Swanson approach to being a president. He was very shy, very timid. He didn't like to talk in front of crowds. His farewell addresses were notoriously short. He liked to keep business flowing, and which some may argue that is what allowed the Roaring '20s to become what they were. Mm-hmm. And so Calvin Coolidge is definitely up there for number 5 for me. Number 4 is Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
Kind of for the same thing. Yes, because he's a Western star, and I love Westerns. But no, he was a part of one of the biggest government takedowns of all time with the Soviet Union collapsing. I remember watching a video of him and how meticulous he was whenever he met Gorbachev. They were in some really cold country. I think it may have been Russia. And Ronald Reagan only had on like a jacket and a tie, and it was like 12 degrees, and Gorbachev had all the Russian fur, and that's just kind of shows you what kind of guy Ronald Reagan was. Also, he has so many great quotes that I love, and I don't know, just Ronald Reagan.
So
he's Reagan.
Just overall,
he's number 4 on your list because he doesn't get cold and he has quotes.
No, he's number 4 on my list because he just embodied what I think a president should be.
Sure.
And it's a leader during
Mr.
times where tear down this wall. He was a leader in a time where
I think that right there is enough to put him on a top 5.
Yeah. He was a leader in a time where where our parents were still terrified of getting nuked. And he's the main leader in making sure that didn't happen for us.
But what about how he introduced crack into the urban environments? And
you need to stop listening to Alex Jones.
So
that's what I have to say about that.
Are you commenting? Is this an order in like?
This is just top 5.
What you
best?
think they were good, or just like personal favorites? Even if they were a bad president,
This is my
you just
list.
like them.
This is Blake's
Well, I'm just
top 5.
trying to figure out like what justifies them
Just-
being.
it's
good.
Blake's
it
top
is his
5,
opinion.
bottom 5.
It's his
top
opinion.
5, bottom 5. If you have a problem, you can make your own
No,
top
that's
5.
not what I meant.
No, I understand. No, a lot of it is personal opinion, and a lot of it is also, I think, what actually made the world a better place. Since the U.S. since the late 40s has been at the forefront of change across the whole world.
Sure.
I think these presidents embody that to the utmost highest standard.
I didn't know if you were gonna like throw in Carter because I like peanuts, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, Carter's not on this list. I was actually considering him for bottom. If that makes it.
You got Teddy on the list, right?
You better have
We're gonna
Teddy.
get there.
Okay.
Number 3 is Abraham Lincoln.
Sure.
Obvious.
Respectable.
Everyone knows why he's a great president.
He's tall.
He built the log cabin. He was born.
He has a hat.
He did.
Yeah, he's on the list because of the hat, right?
He's on, and
Went
the
to
beard
a movie
too.
theater. Got shot.
That's another thing, though. Like, what a badass way to go out.
That's true. You have to
Like,
get assassinated.
I bet there was this one joke, and I think my dad said it, and he was like, he was probably sitting next to his wife, watching some boring fucking play, and he was just probably sitting there just going, God, I hope I get assassinated right now.
He's up there with X.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, they're both up there. For sure.
Okay, real quick. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. I think it's really interesting that the fine line between someone getting murdered and someone getting assassinated. So continue.
It is
I mean, X was assassinated in the technical sense.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, wasn't the police report that he was murdered?
Yeah, but in the technical sense of the word, he was assassinated.
I guess
as well.
assassinated is
it's just assassinated is for high profile targets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I do agree. It's
But do you think-
interesting how those are interchangeable depending on kind of who it is.
Right.
That was
Sorry,
interesting. Anyway, Abraham Lincoln,
Sure.
incredibly smart individual, was incredibly charming, ugly, but that he used that to his advantage. He kept the Union together. He was the first president, or he got slavery out of the way. You've got to put him on the list. Number 2 is George Washington. He was the very first president. Solid pick. Number 2 draft pick. Solid pick. He was the leader of the Continental Army during the U.S. Revolution. Led him to victory. He was also an incredibly intelligent and wise man. So wise that he decided to not run for a third term. Because in his farewell address, which is incredibly eye-opening if you guys read it again, but he basically talks about what his fear is for this country and how all of those fears came true, such as bigger government, such as X, Y, and Z. He was
getting. I mean, for the longest time, the reason why we were hesitant in getting into World War I was
because
neutral.
Washington said never make allies, basically, right? Yeah, always stay neutral.
Stay neutral.
And
stay out of it.
Can I just riff off this for 2 seconds? Yeah. It's real short.
Is this Evan's top and bottom?
No,
No, it's not. But it's something that I've always thought really interesting that I think you guys like to think about. You said something about George Washington being an incredibly intelligent man, and that's true. And it's just something funny that I think about every once in a while. People don't realize that back in the 1700s, they were just as intelligent as we were. They just didn't have the same amount of knowledge.
I completely disagree. They were fucking way smarter than my dumbass will ever be.
Then you're just proving my point even more. I think people look back on those ages and think that they were just idiots. Like, you guys get what I'm trying to say?
You think people look at them as dumbasses?
Oh, I think people look back and they think people from the 1700s up to the 1900s were idiots.
I thought you were
saying that.
I thought you were saying that we are as smart as they are, and I was like, what?
No, yeah, I mean, That is what I'm saying. We are human beings. They were human beings. Their brains had the same exact capacity ours did.
But they ain't got the internet.
That doesn't make us smarter. That's just the knowledge is just available. And I'm done with this little tangent. I just wanted to say I always think it's funny.
I have a question.
People, even back to cavemen, same intelligence we had.
They invented fire.
Smart motherfuckers, dude.
Fire.
Yeah.
Can you discover it?
No, that was given or stolen from the gods.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the whole thing that he was against parties true, or is that just internet rumor propaganda?
No, he was very concerned about.
He was the two-party system.
I never knew if that was just one of those stories.
Even
made up
though
on
this
the
is
internet.
Abraham Lincoln, a house divided shall fall, or something.
A house divided shall not stand.
There it is.
He also chopped down trees. Or something.
Cherry tree.
Norm Macdonald has a really funny bit about
cherry
that.
Tree, right? Yeah.
Norm Macdonald has a really funny bit. He was basically saying what kind of fucking maniac? So you're the dad and you're walking home from work and you see that your cherry tree has been cut down in your yard. So you walk in, you go, George, did you cut down this cherry tree? And your son just walks up with a bloody axe and just says, yeah, Dad, I can't tell a lie. I chopped that fucker down. It's like, what kind of fucking sociopath? Just, you can't tell a lie either? What the fuck's wrong with you? And the number one on Blake's top 5, bottom 5 U.S. presidents is none other than Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah,
Teddy Roosevelt was a total badass. He also
Disagree.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not your
Does
fucking
you all
list.
top and bottom?
He also was a badass because he also, not a lot of people know this. I actually looked this up today. He actually had his family crest tattooed on his chest. And I don't know of any other president that's been tattooed. I'll have to look that up. I think that's badass.
He's a fucking badass.
He was a badass.
He took a bullet.
National parks because of him, dude.
Yes. My buddy Josh swayed me over to this, and what made him actually great is our national park system, how beautiful this country is, has been
I was
kept
just
together.
in the Teddy
It's all
Roosevelt
because
National
of
Park
Teddy
in North
Roosevelt.
Dakota last week.
All because
beautiful.
of that man right there.
Oh, for sure.
All of it.
He was also a incredibly intelligent leader in terms of the Rough Riders.
Oh yeah,
He was
and the
just
first 100 days was amazing.
Yeah, he split up the monopolies. He was also an avid hunter, which is a little bonus for me.
I still think JFK should be number one.
No,
I think JFK deserves to be on the top 5.
JFK is number one.
I don't think top
he's
5
because he's a sexy man.
Have you been to New York to see Teddy's house?
I have not.
If you ever get a chance, do it. It's amazing.
I just remember
His
the
library's
Archer.
intact.
It is.
Yeah,
His what?
Oh, that's
his
incredible.
library
Ooh, wow.
and all this kind of stuff. It's wonderful
I
tour.
just remember
So-
what's her name from Archer, the rich one.
Carol.
Carol,
yeah.
her saying
Oh,
that
wow,
she looked at the Roosevelt Mansion and she was like, "It's a total shit box. They're fucking weird."
Yeah. All right. We're about to hit the bottom.
We are about to
5.
hit the bottom, and this will be a
Ooh.
lot quicker. Number 5 is Andrew Johnson. He was the president that succeeded Lincoln. He was the first president to be impeached. He had a horrible Reconstruction campaign. He was probably involved in the killing of Lincoln. Don't quote me on that.
What was he impeached for?
What was he impeached for? I think it was meddling in.
Watergate.
No.
Continue. I'll find it.
You'll find it.
This
Okay,
was
good.
who?
Andrew Johnson. He was the 17th.
Not Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, no, not Andrew Jackson.
Andrew
Number
Jackson
4,
made
William
Indians.
Henry
Wait,
Harrison.
what am I looking up?
Andrew
Why was
Johnson's
Andrew
impeached.
Johnson impeached? Number 4 is William Henry Harrison.
Sure.
Jesus Christ, the man lasted
Okay, my
8
phone
months.
heard us because I typed in the word Y and then it filled it.
What do you mean?
Like I put Y and then I put the W for was, and it and the first suggestion was why was Andrew Johnson impeached?
That's hilarious.
Leave me alone.
That's so terrifying.
hilarious.
1 week later, the House adopted 11 articles of impeachment against the president. The articles charged Johnson with dismissing Edwin Stanton from office after the Senate had voted not to concur with his dismissal and had ordered him reinstated.
There you go.
It's a very
That's why.
specific reason to be impeached.
Yeah, it's just an abuse of power.
Yeah. So number
Especially back in the
4
day.
is William Henry Harrison. This is a president that literally only lasted a month, and he died of pneumonia.
Yep.
You're a
Because he
spare.
gave too long of a speech.
You're a spare. Next
Who was the guy in the big pants? Real quick.
was William Howard Taft.
Okay, sorry.
Because he's fat.
Yes. Number 3, James Buchanan, another very spare president. The president
Agreed.
right before Lincoln.
Yep.
Not very well liked, not known for really anything. And he also aided in the collapse of the Union. Like he basically sat back and said, "Nah, I don't fucking care."
It's not my problem.
Yeah, whatever. Number 2 is Warren Harding. Now, this man was around during the 20s. He was right after Calvin Coolidge.
Yep.
And he
Harding
is corrupt
horrible.
as they come. He was so corrupt during the 20s. He was basically he was basically the poster boy for corruption in the 20s. He basically should have been. The Teapot Dome scandal that we all heard about, he was basically part of that. Hired friends for his cabinet for business reasons, completely corrupt. and a really just spare president.
Did he actually serve a full term?
Yeah, he did.
That's
and
funny.
then came along
one guy
Hoover.
gets impeached for dismissing someone from Senate. The other's corrupt for 4 years. No problems.
And
it's okay.
number one.
Real quick, I want to add to Hoover is he did nothing to stop the Great Depression.
No, that was Harding.
I thought that was Hoover.
No. Harding.
No. Yeah.
Hoover was the president that
they-
was
who was-
elected
no,
right
did-
when the Great Depression started.
Hold on. All right. I'm going to fact check you, but continue on your last point.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. Number one worst U.S. president of all time, Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yep.
Ouch.
The worst president of all time. Not only did he kill Kennedy, according to...
You killed Kennedy.
Yeah.
You bastard.
He did. At least he was a part of it. Don't quote me.
Quote him.
Number one, he was also responsible for the Great Society, which, say what you want about politics. The Great Society, I think both sides can look at nowadays and look at as a huge fucking failure. That also started the self-esteem movement, which was a fucking disaster. He also got us further involvement in Nam. He was also a racist fucking pig that nobody ever realized either. And he really is. He was just I don't know how he is brought up as this amazing leader when the same people that put him on this pedestal are also the same people that were against Vietnam. He got us further involvement in Vietnam, was on the forefront of the Vietnam War. I don't know why he is considered a good president. He's a spare. He's a racist fucking spare.
It's interesting that you said that because I've never heard anyone say he was a good president.
Oh, I
the
have.
people I've been
they
around.
made a fucking HBO doc. They made an HBO movie
I
about
saw
it with
that. They
Bryan
made him
Cranston.
seem like such a gentle, sad person.
No, he was a racist fucking pig that had an idea that wanted to get him more black votes. He was a
wrong.
Maybe.
Oh, interesting.
So how close was W to being on the bottom 5?
George W.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not that
That's
close.
really racist.
Really? Oh,
Well, if I were to make a list of
'Cause
all
he's
45
he's
or 46, then I can make that list. But
Yeah, that's okay.
Do it.
I don't want to go
it'll
through
take.
your
No, I'm not going to
46
do that. I'm not
presidents.
going to just put it on the air. But I can
If
make
you could
that
please
list.
rate the presidents from
Make it
top
for a
to
video.
bottom based on attractiveness,
Oh, yeah.
what they actually did.
Okay,
Well,
well,
if you're doing
attractiveness
attract-
how
and
cool
Kennedy is
and
first.
how cool their name
'Cause he's a
sounds.
sexy man.
Then yeah.
Okay, well,
So it needs
how
to
cool
be.
your
It
name
needs to
is.
be
the
like
passion
how
of a
attractive they
thousand
were is like
suns.
half of it. What they did is like a 1%,
The way
and
that he
then how their
handled
name sounds 49%.
trusts and the monopolies as he delivered through the steel companies.
What are you talking
I'm
about?
quoting my essay. Thank you very much.
Where you sucked Kennedy's wang the whole
No,
time?
I did it. Well, pretty much, yeah. So it was just a rhetorical analysis essay over like Kennedy's speech on the monopolies in the steel industry, and I was just like, JFK is a sexy man.
And his
He
story
delivers the
is-
passion.
Why are you
with a-
so close to your mic?
Because why
Why are
not?
you? This isn't.
why-
This isn't ASMR.
Hey, everybody. Anyways, okay, that is the end of the One More Podcast. I definitely didn't introduce everybody, so I apologize. I got Blake, Cole, and Evan, and everybody is cool. Peace out.
I'm
Have a good
Blake.
one. Bye.
That's
I'm Evan.
Cole.
And that's
I'm Yuval.
all right. Bye.